A small Tennessee town, nestled in the shadow of the Smoky Mountains, where the air smells of pine and secrets. It's March 13, 2025, and a storm like something out of a Hollywood blockbuster is tearing through Willow Creek. Thunder cracks like a shotgun, lightning turns night into day, and the power's out, leaving folks huddled in their homes, praying the roof holds. But out there, in the chaos, something extraordinary is about to unfold at Mercy Grace Hospital, a rundown outpost where hope hangs by a thread. Meet Dr. Emily Harper. Think of her as the lone hero in a gritty western. Only her weapon's a stethoscope, not a six-shooter. She's a battle-scarred surgeon with a past that'd make a country song weep, a Chicago hotshot who lost everything when she dared to save a life no one else believed in. Now, she's in Willow Creek, stitching up farmers and dodging ghosts, her dreams buried under 5 years of regret. That is, until this night, this wild, rain-soaked night, when a half-dead hound dog staggers up to the ER with a baby in tow, wrapped in a soggy blanket like some kinda miracle nobody ordered. This ain't just any stray. Rusty's got eyes that see through you and a collar that says Willow Creek PD K9 Unit, a retired cop with a story of his own. And the kid? Little Lucas, barely a few hours old, with a star-shaped mark on his neck that's more than skin deep. Tucked in that blanket's a note, keep him safe, they're watching. Suddenly, Emily's not just a doc, she's a soldier in a war she didn't sign up for, with shadows moving in the storm and a town ready to rally or break. Buckle up, America, this is a tale of grit, guts, and a dog who'd die for what's right. What starts in the rain doesn't stay in the rain, it's gonna shake this town to its roots, and Emily's about to find out what she's really made of. Ready for the ride? The night of March 13, 2025, descended on Willow Creek, Tennessee, like a biblical reckoning. A ferocious storm tore through the Smoky Mountain foothills, its winds howling like a pack of wolves, uprooting trees and snapping power lines. Half the town plunged into darkness, leaving Mercy Grace Hospital, a weathered red brick relic on the outskirts, clinging to life via sputtering generators. Lightning split the sky in jagged bursts, illuminating the chaos below, flooded streets, abandoned cars, and a sense of dread that hung thick in the humid air. Dr. Emily Harper burst through the hospital's emergency entrance. Her white coat drenched, clinging to her lean frame like a second skin. Her hazel eyes, sharp yet shadowed by years of sleepless nights, scanned the scene. She'd just finished a grueling 12-hour shift, stitching up storm-related injuries, broken bones, gashes from flying debris, but the urgency in Nurse Carla Rivera's voice had yanked her back from the edge of collapse. "Doc, get down here quick," Carla shouted, her short, dark hair plastered to her forehead as she waved frantically from the side door. Emily sprinted through the dimly lit corridor, her boots squelching on the wet linoleum, the flickering lights casting eerie silhouettes that danced like ghosts along the walls. What she saw at the ER's side entrance stopped her cold. Huddled against the door, battered by rain and wind, was an old hound dog, its brindle coat a patchwork of mud and gray, soaked through to the bone. Its ribs jutted beneath the matted fur, a testament to age and hardship, but its amber eyes glowed with a fierce, almost human intensity. At its paws lay a bundle, a pale gray blanket, sodden and trembling faintly. "He's been here 20 minutes," Carla whispered, her breath puffing in the chilly air. "Growls at anyone who gets close." Emily knelt slowly, her pulse hammering in her ears. She'd faced down trauma cases that would break most, car wrecks, gunshot wounds, but this was different. This was a mystery wrapped in fur and rain. She extended a cautious hand, expecting a snarl, a flash of teeth. Instead, the hound met her gaze, studying her with a scrutiny that felt like judgment. Then, with a low, mournful whine, it stepped aside, revealing its charge, a newborn baby, its tiny face barely visible through the blanket's folds. Lips tinged blue from the cold. "Oh my God," Emily breathed, scooping the infant into her arms. The child was impossibly small, no more than a few hours old, its skin clammy and pulse thready. "He's hypothermic, move," she barked, her voice cutting through the storm's roar. "Warming blankets, NICU, now." The dog watched her every move, its tail flicking once, a single deliberate wag, as if approving her actions. Carla dashed off, calling for help, while Emily rushed the baby inside, her mind racing. Who leaves a child in a trash heap during a storm? And why was this dog its guardian? As they entered the treatment room, Emily's fingers brushed a scrap of paper tucked into the blanket. She unfolded it under the harsh fluorescent light. "His name is Lucas. Keep him safe, they're watching." The words, scrawled in frantic, uneven ink, sent a chill down her spine unrelated to the storm. She glanced at the dog, Rusty, as Carla had nicknamed him for his rusted coat, now stationed outside the glass door. His eyes locked on the baby with unshakable focus. Staff tried to shoo him away, but he growled low, planting himself like a sentinel. Emily worked fast, wrapping Lucas in heated blankets, attaching monitors to track his fragile vitals. His heartbeat steadied, a faint but stubborn rhythm, and she exhaled shakily. But her relief was short-lived. A flash of lightning lit the parking lot beyond the window. And for a split second, she saw them, dark figures, motionless in the downpour, their silhouettes stark against the asphalt. When the next bolt struck, they were gone, leaving only rain and doubt. Had she imagined it? The note's warning gnawed at her, "They're watching." 5 years earlier, Emily Harper had been a titan at Chicago General, a trauma surgeon dubbed the Lifeline for her knack at snatching lives from death's jaws. Colleagues marveled at her cool head and steady hands, but it was her heart, her refusal to abandon the hopeless, that defined her. That heart had also destroyed her. One frigid December night, a homeless man, John Doe, rolled in on a stretcher, hypothermic, pulseless, a lost cause by any metric. Dr. Victor Grayson, the hospital's icy chief administrator, had waved him off. No vitals, no resources. Move on. But Emily saw a flicker in the man's clouded eyes, a spark of fight. Against orders, she fought for him, 6 hours of CPR, warming fluids, sheer grit, until he gasped awake. His trembling hand gripping hers. It should have been her greatest save. Instead, it was her ruin. Grayson, a man with a smile like a blade and ambition to match, turned it against her. At the board hearing, he painted her as reckless, emotional, a liability. Dr. Harper's obsession with heroics wastes time and money, he sneered. She can't distinguish reality from her savior complex. Colleagues she'd bled beside averted their eyes, their silence a betrayal sharper than any scalpel. The verdict stripped her of her job, her reputation, and her trust in the system she'd sworn to uphold. A wrongful dismissal suit drained her savings, leaving her a nomad, small-town gigs, night shifts, a life of shadows. Mercy Grace was her last stand, a backwater hospital desperate enough to overlook her past. She'd vowed to keep her distance, to care without caring too much. But Lucas changed that. As she traced the star-shaped birthmark on his neck, a faint, silvery scar, something stirred in her. A pull she couldn't name. Rusty's unwavering vigil, the note's cryptic plea, the phantom figures in the rain, it all whispered of a purpose she hadn't sought but couldn't ignore. Outside, thunder rolled like a warning. Inside, Emily made a silent vow, she'd protect this boy, no matter who, or what, came for him. She didn't know it yet, but this storm had unearthed a decades-old secret. And Rusty, the grizzled hound, was its key. Dawn crept over Willow Creek, the storm's fury fading into a gray, dripping hush. Mercy Grace Hospital settled into an uneasy calm. Its halls buzzing with whispers about the baby and the dog. Lucas slept in the NICU, his tiny chest rising under a web of wires, a fighter despite his fragile start. Emily slumped in a chair beside his crib. Exhaustion warring with the adrenaline still surging through her veins. Her hands, steady in surgery, trembled now as she clutched the note, "Keep him safe, they're watching." Rusty remained outside the glass door, a statue of fur and resolve. His brindle coat, streaked with gray, hung heavy with dampness, but his amber eyes never wavered from Lucas. Every so often, he'd shift, ears twitching at sounds too faint for human ears, footsteps, distant car engines, the creak of the building itself. When a janitor lingered too long mopping nearby, Rusty's lip curled, a low growl rumbling from his chest. The staff had given up trying to move him, he was part of this now, whether they liked it or not. Emily traced the star birthmark on Lucas's neck. Her mind churning. Who was they? Why a dog? And how did a newborn end up in a trash heap on the worst night of the year? Carla interrupted her thoughts, holding out a rusted metal disc. Found this on him, document buried under all that fur. Emily took it, squinting at the faded engraving, Rusty, Willow Creek PD K9 unit. Her brow furrowed. A police dog? In this condition? She called Officer Pete Daniels, a grizzled cop with a limp and a smoker's rasp, who'd patrolled Willow Creek for 30 years. He arrived within the hour, his uniform damp from the lingering drizzle. Peering through the glass at Rusty, he nodded slowly. That's him, all right. Tough old bastard. Worked with him back in the day. Tell me, Emily pressed, leaning against the wall. Arms crossed. Pete lit a cigarette despite the hospital's no smoking sign, exhaling a plume of smoke. 7 years ago, Rusty was the best damn K9 we had. Bloodhound mix, nose like a radar. Partnered with Mike Callahan, good man, reckless as hell. They tracked drug runners, found lost hikers in the Smokies. But it was the Grayson estate fire that made him a legend. Emily's ears pricked at Grayson. Pete went on. Big old Victorian up on the hill, Abigail Grayson's place. Reclusive gal, rich family, 8 months pregnant when the blaze hit. Summer night, lightning strike, whole damn house went up. Mike and Rusty got the call. Abigail was trapped in her library, beams down, smoke thick as tar. Mike told Rusty to wait for the fire crew. But that dog didn't listen. Bolted straight in, dragged her out just as the roof caved. Singed his fur, burned his paws bloody, but he didn't stop till she was safe. Emily glanced at Rusty. Imagining the scene. What happened after? Abigail lived, baby didn't come till later. She and Rusty bonded hard. Visited him every day while he healed up at Doc Anderson's vet clinic. Talked to him like he was human, about her kid, her fears, stuff she wouldn't tell nobody else. When Mike got killed in a shootout 6 months later, drug bust gone bad, Abigail took Rusty in. Gave him a new gig. What kind of gig? Pete shrugged, stubbing out his cigarette on the wall. She got weird after that fire. Trained him to patrol the town, memorize routes. Watch for trouble. Said he was her guardian. Folks thought she was nuts, but Rusty took to it. Then, 2 years ago, she up and vanished. Left a note at the station, trust Rusty. He knows what to do. We figured he'd pine away, but he didn't. Turned into a ghost, roamin' the streets, check in on widows, followin' kids to school. Showed up whenever someone was in a fix. Emily's porch flashed in her mind. For months, Rusty had been a fixture there, sitting quietly as she left water out, listening as she vented about her day, patients she couldn't save. The past she couldn't shake. She'd thought he was just a stray. Now, she saw the truth in his steady gaze. He's been watching me too, she murmured. Pete nodded. Yeah, he's got a thing for you. But this baby business? That's new. Emily showed him the note. Pete's eyes narrowed. Abigail helped folks disappear, runaways, battered wives. Had a knack for it. Maybe this is her kid. And Rusty's finish in what she started. The name Grayson gnawed at her. Victor Grayson, the Chicago chief who'd torched her career, was a Tennessee native. Could he be tied to Abigail's family? She pushed the thought aside, focusing on Rusty. That night, she tested the note under her nose, a faint whiff of lavender, Abigail's scent, Pete said. Rusty reacted instantly, pacing and whining, his eyes darting to Lucas. Emily's gut clenched, this was Abigail's son. And Rusty's mission was to protect him from whatever, or whoever, lurked in the shadows. By noon, word of the rescue hit Willow Creek like wildfire. Locals trickled into Mercy Grace, farmers in muddy boots, diner waitresses still in aprons, drawn by the tail of the dog and the baby. Among them was Millie Tate, the town librarian. Her silver hair pulled tight in a bun. She cornered Emily in the hall. That birthmark, star-shaped, right? I've seen it before, in old Grayson family photos. Abigail had one just like it. Emily's pulse quickened. You knew her? Enough to know she was running from something. Her folks were big shots round here, tobacco money, old secrets. Abigail turned her back on all that. Started helping folks in trouble. Then she was gone. Millie's eyes flicked to Rusty. That dog's no stray. He's her soldier. As night fell, Emily sat by Lucas, Rusty's silhouette framed in the glass. The pieces were falling together, Abigail, the birthmark, the note, but the puzzle was far from complete. And out there, beyond the hospital's flickering lights, she felt the weight of unseen eyes. Willow Creek simmered in the days after Lucas's arrival, the storm's aftermath giving way to a tense, electric buzz. Mercy Grace Hospital became a hub of speculation, nurses swapped theories over coffee. Patients craned their necks to glimpse the NICU's newest resident. Lucas thrived under the wires and warming lights, his star birthmark a quiet beacon on his neck. Emily barely left his side. Her nights a blur of charts and caffeine, her days spent dodging questions from curious locals. Rusty held his post outside the treatment room, a gaunt figure of fur and grit. His ribs pressed against his coat, his joints stiff with age, but his amber eyes burned with purpose. He growled at orderlies who lingered, snapped at a reporter who got too close with a camera. The staff nicknamed him the Watchdog, half in jest, half in awe. Emily saw more, a soldier on a mission she was only beginning to understand. She dug into Abigail Grayson's past. Piecing it together from fragments, Pete's stories, Millie's hints, hospital records yellowed with age. The Graysons were Willow Creek royalty, their fortune rooted in tobacco fields and moonshine runs since the 1800s. They'd masked their wealth with charity, orphanages, soup kitchens, until Charles Grayson, Abigail's father, took the reins in the 70s. He turned their legacy into a machine of influence, buying politicians and silencing dissent. Abigail, his only child, rebelled. She'd funneled her trust fund into a secret network, helping the desperate vanish, abused spouses, whistleblowers, kids on the run. An old photo in the hospital archives stopped Emily's breath. Abigail, mid-20s and pregnant, standing with a man in scrubs, his face blurred. But a star birthmark peeked from her shoulder. A journal entry, tucked in a misfiled folder, confirmed it. My son will bear the mark of our true purpose, protection, not power. Charles can't have him. Emily's hands shook. Lucas was Abigail's legacy, and that mark was no coincidence. The name Charles Grayson hit harder. Victor Grayson, the Chicago chief who'd crushed her, was his brother, Abigail's uncle. She'd never connected them. Victor had buried his southern roots under a polished city veneer. But now, the pieces snapped into place. A call to an old Chicago colleague confirmed it. Victor had left for Tennessee months ago, sniffing around family business. Security footage from the storm night sealed her suspicion. A black SUV, Grayson Enterprises plates, circling Mercy Grace like a vulture. The stakes spiked when the Morgans arrived. Edward and Lillian Morgan, a slick Boston couple in tailored suits, filed for Lucas's custody 3 days after his rescue. They oozed wealth, private jets, charity galas, and claimed experience fostering unique children. Their lawyer, a shark named Preston Hayes, laid into Emily at the preliminary hearing. Dr. Harper's a loose cannon, fired for defying orders, living alone with a feral dog. Lucas needs stability, not a disgraced doctor's charity case. Her past was a weapon again, her compassion spun as weakness. Emily fought back, her voice steadied despite the sting. I've saved lives others gave up on. I'll do the same for him. But the judge, a stern woman named Eleanor Price, seemed swayed by the Morgans' polish. Rusty's presence didn't help. He lunged at Hayes in the courtroom, teeth bared, forcing a bailiff to intervene. That animal's a threat, Hayes crowed. Emily's odds dimmed. That night, Rusty changed the game. He pawed at her bag, nosing out a pendant from Lucas's blanket, a silver star, etched with faint initials, AG. It sparked a memory from Pete. Abigail wore one like it. On instinct, Emily followed Rusty to the Grayson estate ruins, a charred skeleton on the hill, overgrown with kudzu. He led her to a hidden cellar, his claws scraping at a trapdoor. Inside, a metal box, rusted shut. She pried it open, revealing letters from Abigail to a lover, Dr. Nathan Cole, a rural doc who'd vanished with her. They'll come for him, M. Charles wants the mark, it's his key to the Grayson trust. Trust Rusty. He'll lead you to me. The Morgans weren't random adopters. They were Charles's proxies, hunting Lucas to claim the family fortune, and something darker. Emily's lawyer, a scrappy local named Dave Wheeler, dug into their past, shady adoptions. Kids with odd birthmarks, all tied to Grayson money. The hearing loomed, and Emily braced for war. Then, Nathan Cole stepped from the shadows. Haggard, gray-haired, he walked into Mercy Grace late one night. His coat patched and boots worn. "Lucas is mine," he said, voice rough with years of silence. "Abigail died to keep him from her family. You're his guardian now, Emily. I've watched you long enough to know." He handed her a dossier, decades of Grayson blackmail, bribes, threats. The final hearing was a battleground. Nathan testified, his evidence dismantling the Morgans' facade. Judge Price ruled for Emily, but victory was fleeting. That night, 3 men in black masks stormed her house. Rusty fought like a demon, teeth sinking into flesh, taking blows meant for her, until sirens drove them off. Emily clutched Lucas, blood on her hands from Rusty's wounds, knowing Charles wouldn't stop. The star mark wasn't just a birthright, it was a death sentence. Willow Creek erupted after the break-in. Rusty's heroism, limping, bleeding, but unyielding, lit a fire under the town. Pete rallied his old cop buddies, parking cruisers outside Emily's clapboard house. Millie organized a watch rota, farmers, teachers, even the diner cook, armed with bats and grit. Nathan revealed the full truth: the Grayson legacy wasn't cash, but a vow from the 1930s to shelter the vulnerable, twisted by Charles into a power grab. Lucas's mark tied him to that original oath, a symbol Charles coveted to legitimize his empire. Emily turned the estate cellar into a war room, poring over Nathan's files with Dave and Millie. They found a pattern: Grayson-funded adoptions targeting kids with star marks, a eugenics twist to control the bloodline. Charles's endgame was clear: claim Lucas, rewrite the legacy, and bury Abigail's rebellion. The final assault came on a fog-choked night. Emily was mid-shift at Mercy Grace when alarms blared, intruders in the NICU. She sprinted through the halls, Nathan at her heels, to find Charles himself, silver-haired, suit pristine, holding Lucas. Rusty, still bandaged, launched from the shadows, slamming into Charles's legs. The old man stumbled, dropping the baby, Emily Dove, catching Lucas as Nathan tackled a goon. Gunshots rang out, shattering glass, but Pete's crew stormed in, cuffs snapping on wrists. Charles snarled as they dragged him away, "You can't stop the Grayson name." But Willow Creek did. The town rebuilt the estate into a haven, clinics, shelters, a monument to Abigail's vision. Rusty, scarred but alive, roamed its grounds, guarding Lucas as he grew. Emily and Nathan, bound by loss and love, made it home. The star mark became a badge of hope, proof that loyalty and courage could outlast any storm. Lessons. Courage shows up in the storm. Emily Harper's a doctor who's been knocked down hard, lost her job. Her reputation, everything, but when a storm hits and a baby needs her, she steps up. Lesson? Life's toughest moments don't define you, what you do in them does. She didn't ask for this fight, but she's ready to swing. What's your storm, and how've you faced it? Loyalty's a two-way street. Rusty, that beat-up old hound, drags a baby through a tempest to safety. He's not just a pet, he's a partner. A hero with a badge in his past. It's a reminder, loyalty isn't just something you get, it's something you give. Who's the Rusty in your life, sticking by you no matter what? Small towns, big hearts. Willow Creek's a speck on the map, but when the chips are down, it's got grit and soul. Big cities might have the lights, but small towns have the fight. Ever seen your community rally like that? It's proof that size doesn't measure strength. The past doesn't own you. Emily's got baggage, Chicago chewed her up and spat her out. But she's not done. That star-marked baby and a mystery dog give her a shot at redemption. Lesson here, your screw-ups don't get the last word unless you let them. What's a second chance you've grabbed? Mysteries are worth chasing. A cryptic note, shadowy figures, a birthmark with secrets, this story's got hooks. Emily's not just saving a kid, she's unraveling something huge. Sometimes, the unknown's scary, but digging in can change everything. What's a mystery you've chased down? Alright, y'all, now it's your turn to jump in. Which lesson hit you hardest? Maybe you've got a story about facing your own storm. Or a shout out to your real-life Rusty who's always got your back. Drop it in the comments, I'm reading every single one. And hey, what do you think's coming next for Emily and Lucas? Wild guesses welcome. Hit that like button if you're hooked. Smash subscribe for more tales like this, and share it with your crew. Let's keep this vibe going, your voice makes it epic. What's on your mind?